Get ready, folks, because Labour's Rachel Reeves is diving headfirst into one of the most controversial pension overhauls in recent history. This isn't just another tweak or minor adjustment. Reeves is taking a wrecking ball to Britain's local government pension schemes, and she's got the political establishment and financial analysts in a frenzy. Imagine it. 86 local government pension plans, representing 6.5 million workers and a staggering £360 billion in assets, all set to be rolled into giant mega-funds that Reeves claims will bring in billions for local investment. But critics are warning that this bold move could have devastating consequences. And if you thought that was intense, we're just getting started, because every angle of this reform is more explosive than the last. Now, Labour's new Chancellor isn't coming into this fight alone. She's prepared to announce these colossal reforms at her very first Mansion House speech, promising what she calls the biggest pension reforms in decades. Reeves is drawing inspiration from other nations' models, pointing to similar mega-fund consolidations in Australia and Canada, which have managed to pool public sector pensions into massive funds for infrastructure projects and investment growth. But the big question on everyone's mind: is this a calculated, genius move to stimulate the economy and fund local projects, or is it a reckless gamble that could bankrupt Britain's pensioners?
We will close the loophole created by the previous government, made even bigger when the lifetime allowance was abolished, by bringing inherited pensions into inheritance tax from April 2027. Finally, we will reform agricultural property relief and business property relief. From April 2026, the first £1 million of combined business and agricultural assets will continue to attract no inheritance tax at all. But for assets over £1 million, inheritance tax will apply with a 50% relief at an effective rate of 20%. This will ensure that we continue to protect small family farms and three-quarters of claims unaffected by these changes. I can also announce that we will apply a 50% relief in all circumstances on inheritance tax for shares on the alternative investment market and other similar markets, setting the effective rate of tax at 20%. Taken together, these measures raise over £2 billion by the final year of the forecast.
At first glance, Reeves's plan seems practical. By consolidating local pension schemes into larger funds, the Labour government hopes to cut down on management fees, put an end to what Reeves calls unnecessary overhead costs, and free up capital to boost the economy through investments in local projects. In her own words, "We're going for growth." It sounds ambitious, and maybe even a little inspiring, but here's where things get dicey. Reeves wants each of these mega-funds to funnel a portion of its investments back into local economies, promising a 5% target for local investments that, according to her, will create at least £20 billion to revitalise communities across the country. But, hold on, financial experts are warning that Reeves's vision for a consolidated national wealth fund might come with devastating risks. Felicia Hjertman, CEO of investment platform Tillit, delivered a scathing critique, calling the proposal a grave mistake. Hjertman argues that pushing Britain's pension schemes into a central pot controlled by the government is dangerous. In her words, "You're not only risking people's retirement funds, you're putting an entire generation's stability on the line." These funds, Hjertman suggests, are being turned into a government piggy bank for high-risk investments, a gamble that could see pensioners bear the brunt if things go sideways. Yet for every critic, there's someone cheering from the sidelines. Reeves is backed by her Labour allies, including none other than Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, who chimed in to support the plan, insisting this reform will finally make pensions work harder for our communities. In a recent interview, Rayner doubled down, emphasising the benefits for public sector workers. "We're talking about putting money where it belongs, back into the hands of the communities," she argued. And with a £360 billion treasure chest up for grabs, there's no shortage of investment potential. But as the clock ticks down to Reeves's Mansion House speech, critics are intensifying their warnings, claiming these sweeping changes could wreck financial stability, leaving pensioners exposed to unnecessary risk. And while Labour is focusing on pensions for now, the party's eyeing another controversy that's gripping the headlines: the electric vehicle (EV) industry. Just as Reeves is aiming to reform pensions, she's also being pressured to back off from car manufacturers who are facing some of their worst financial slumps in decades. Experts from investment firm Charles Stanley are suggesting Labour may need to impose new taxes or user fees on EVs to make up for falling fuel tax revenues, just as major car manufacturers like BMW and Volkswagen report massive losses. In fact, BMW alone saw a jaw-dropping 79% drop in pre-tax profits in recent months, while Toyota and Volkswagen are also reporting dramatic declines. Industry insiders are even suggesting that rapid EV targets are partly to blame, with many car buyers simply not ready to abandon traditional petrol and diesel vehicles. Critics argue that these tough targets are driving up costs for manufacturers, putting even more pressure on their bottom lines. And now, as Labour considers introducing new user charges on EVs, the party risks alienating both the auto industry and the everyday consumers who are wary of jumping on the EV bandwagon. With the stage set for Reeves's Mansion House speech, political and economic tensions have reached a boiling point. Labour is betting big on these bold policy shifts, but the public backlash is mounting. A recent poll shows that a significant chunk of British voters are growing increasingly uneasy with Labour's high-stakes plans, from pensions to EV taxes, questioning whether these sweeping changes are actually for the people or just political gambles that could cost taxpayers in the long run. As Reeves prepares to take the podium, the anticipation is palpable. The Mansion House will be packed with city leaders, investors, and business elites waiting to hear just how far Labour plans to push these reforms. In a preview of her speech, Reeves stated, "We're here to break from the old ways, to deliver a pension system that empowers our communities and an economy that works for everyone." But whether she'll succeed in persuading Britain, or simply fan the flames of criticism, is yet to be seen. Back in Parliament, Conservatives are seizing the opportunity to push back. They're quick to paint Reeves's plan as a reckless experiment that could leave Britain's pensioners with empty coffers. Tory MPs have slammed the proposed megafunds as socialist overreach and have promised to hold Labour accountable if the reforms go awry. Tory MP Robert Jenrick warned, "This is no time for Labour's wild social experiments. Pensioners deserve security, not political schemes." The opposition is primed to capitalise on any fallout, promising to fight these changes tooth and nail to protect Britain's pensioners. As we watch Labour's ambitious reform agenda unfold, one thing is certain: the stakes are sky high, and the public is divided. Will Rachel Reeves be able to pull off what she's calling the biggest pension reform in decades, or will this be the scandal that brings down Labour's ambitious dreams? If you're as hooked on this drama as we are, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. You won't want to miss a single twist in this ongoing saga because, with Labour's high-stakes pension reform and EV tax debates, this is just the beginning.